Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today we'll look at another horrific instance with you. A landfill can be found 60 miles south of Melbourne. As with any dump on a wide area of ground, there are towering mounds of household rubbish. Birds circle the meter-high mounds, while a horrible odor permeates for miles around. Normally this place is empty. However, in May 2004, hundreds of police officers began rummaging through the trash. The scenario was reminiscent of an apocalyptic film, especially when investigators and police officers wore protective suits against biological risks and ultra-durable masks to defend against asbestos-laden dirt. The area was littered with thousands of blue rubbish bags. Every day of seeking was quite difficult. They had to check each bag. This lengthy and unavoidable process greatly slowed the research. After 3 weeks of searching, the cops became discouraged and had depleted their moral and physical resources. On the penultimate day, they had one more chance to locate the mother and girl. Norelle Fraser, a young lady working in the missing persons department, had put a lot of effort into the search from the start, apprehensively inspecting each fresh blue bag. Approximately 10 a.m. On another day of hunting, an excavator extracted another batch of bags from the depths of a vast waste pile for examination. Fraser observed a blue bag sticking on top of the pile. She interrupted the search, as she had done hundreds of times in the previous days, to examine the unearthed trash in detail. Climbing up the pile, the woman unzipped the garbage bag, but when she found only a kitchen glove, she signaled to continue the search. But something seemed odd. The investigator's intuition led her back to the bag, and when she opened it again, she discovered something unexpected. What she thought was a kitchen glove turned out to be a bloated, rotting human hand. She cried loudly. She'd discovered them. Today, let us travel to the magnificent Australia, specifically Mornington Island, where, despite the beauty of the surrounding landscape, pleasant climate, and inviting mood, a nightmare equal to a horror film occurred. In May 2004, John Sharp appeared on television, appealing for assistance. Holding a photograph, he begged anyone with knowledge about his wife and daughter's abduction to call the police and help them find them. Anna Sharp and her 18-month-old daughter, Gracie, have gone missing from their house since March. Let's start at the beginning and determine who is responsible for Anna and Gracie Sharp's disappearance. We'll find out where the mother and daughter went, and whether John Sharp might have truly destroyed his own family, or whether someone else is to blame for their disappearance. Anna Kemp was born September 27, 1962, in Dunedin, New Zealand. As an adult, she relocated to Melbourne, Australia, wanting to establish a job, find love, and live her best life. Valerie and Miles Sharp welcomed son John Miles Sharp into the world on February 28, 1967. The couple owned many pastry businesses and led a quiet, pleasant life in Mornington, Victoria. John was up in a large, happy family that included 4 older sisters. Later, the Sharp family welcomed another son. John Sharp's early years were relatively uneventful. He had social troubles and relied greatly on his parents. He had low emotional intelligence and struggled to deal with challenges in his life. Sharp finished 12 grades but failed his tests. He couldn't handle stress, so he preferred to delegate decision-making to others. He also lacked emotional intelligence and was unable to confront his own issues. After graduating from high school, John began working at the State Bank, where he met Anna Kemp. Anna was 31 when they met, and John was 27. They had quite different temperaments. He was always a loner with no friends because he had been extremely bashful since childhood and could only talk freely with his family members. Anna, on the other hand, was happy, vivacious, and considerate of others. This piqued John's interest, and he lavished her with all of his attention. She didn't like him at first, but she noted his interest in her and how he relaxed around her, evolving from a repressed, reticent man to a confident and interesting conversationalist. Anna took note, and the young pair started dating. In October 1994, they got married. The event was small and intimate, taking place among close family members. Anna's close relatives from New Zealand also attended the wedding, but they did not agree with her choice, believing Anna was too good for him. Because decorum forbade them from speaking up, the parents chose to remain silent and accept their daughter's decision instead. However, throughout the honeymoon, Anna began to wonder the wisdom of her decision. In a phone call with her mother Lila, she lamented that she had rushed into it and that she and John did not have a deep love. But being a devoted Catholic, She accepted her decision and resolved to try to create excellent family relations with her husband and become a full family. They lived together for 7 years in various locations along the Mornington Peninsula and appeared to be a very happy family. However, they lived their lives apart. Anna and John found out they were expecting a child around the end of 2001. Anna was overjoyed since she had always wanted to have a kid, but John was reluctant because they had promised not to have children before marriage. Anna disregarded John's advice and continued the pregnancy. So, in August 2002, baby Gracie Louise Sharp was born. The little girl had a tough start in life because she was born with hip dysplasia. This is a congenital joint deformity that can be treated by wearing a customized brace for an extended period of time. The principle of such a brace is to bend the child's legs at the knee and hip joint and retain them in that posture. Wearing the brace around the clock causes discomfort for sleep and daily life. Such hardships for the newborn girl were extremely challenging during her first few months of life. It was thought that Gracie's disability would not cause her any long-term problems, but when wearing the brace in infancy, she became quite uncomfortable and distressed. But Anna cared for her kid with entire attention, wanting to have the brace removed as soon as possible. The girl was extremely frail, ate poorly, slept little, and needed constant attention and care. Anna spent her entire time caring for her daughter. John was frustrated that his wife, Anna, spent all of her time with their daughter Gracie, and their marriage became increasingly strained. However, Anna was bothered with John's thoughts because she was preoccupied with their daughter. Even when Gracie's brace was removed, her sleep troubles continued, forcing Anna to seek professional aid. The situation was exhausting for her. Anna resigned her work to devote all of her time to Gracie. The Sharps were wealthy and had everything they needed. In previous years, John had founded a property staging and flipping company, which helped them build a large cash cushion. In late 2003, the couple purchased a property on Prince Street near John's parents' house. Anna stunned John by informing him of her second pregnancy shortly after moving in. Anna was overjoyed because she had always wanted 2 children, but John was upset and even questioned whether the child was his. Despite their differences, their relationship appeared to be fairly positive. On March 21, 2004, Anna, John, and tiny Gracie were invited to a family gathering. They were absolutely cheerful, and none of the attendees noticed anything wrong. 2 days later, Anna vanished. John acted strangely. Perhaps everyone grieves in their own manner, but he did not report her missing to the police, nor did he search for her among friends and relatives, as if he knew where his wife was. So it turned out. In a subsequent phone call, John firmly informed Anna's mother that she had fled with another man. He explained that he had no idea where she was or who she was with. He also claimed that Anna had brought her smartphone with her. However, little Gracie remained with John. This was really weird to Anna's relatives. They couldn't believe it, knowing that Gracie was not necessary nor interesting to John, and Anna would never have done such a thing. Anna's relatives did not trust the account John gave them. They knew Anna well enough to trust she would never abandon little Gracie, who still needed regular attention. On March 28th, John called her parents again, informing them that Anna had arrived home via cab and taken Gracie. He also indicated that Anna would not return, and that the kid she was carrying was not his. This news devastated the Kemp family. What John informed them about Anna was not true for their daughter. But Anna's mother was insistent that her daughter would not leave the house, especially since she was 20 weeks pregnant. So, who is John Sharp, a bereaved father and husband, or a collaborator in his own family's disappearance? Anna's family eventually received a letter over social media informing them that she had relocated to another city to begin a new life with a new partner, and requested that they not disturb her until she was settled. In the letter, she stated that she was dissatisfied with her marriage to John, was exhausted, and desired to start over in a new relationship. But Anna's relatives knew she'd never act like that. She would call, speak, and not hide like a fugitive. Furthermore, the letter was not written in Anna's style, raising serious doubts about whether it was written by her. Anna's relatives were driven to notify the police since she was not returning phone calls, was inaccessible, and had written a bizarre letter that did not appear to be her own. Following protocol, the New Zealand police contacted John Sharp, but were given the same tale about her leaving him for another man. There were enough suspicions to submit the matter to police in Mornington, Australia, who contacted John right away. Sharp failed to persuade the police that everything was great, and the matter was immediately sent to the Victoria Missing Persons Unit. Within a few hours, an investigation team was dispatched. However, the truth is not always clear, therefore the police performed a comprehensive investigation. They went to the Sharp house, where John stayed alone. John participated with the investigation and appeared genuinely distressed and worried. He described how Anna, upon departing for the first time, got into a blue automobile. He stated that Anna and Gracie had relocated to Chelsea, taken all of their possessions, and are most likely already enjoying their new life without him. Following John's statement, the police requested an inspection of the house, which he readily agreed to. The first floor appeared entirely normal. The investigators were surprised by the second floor inspection. The main bedroom lacked a mattress, while the children's room lacked a cot. John revealed that he sold the mattress and Anna had moved the cot to their new home. The police then searched Anna's phone. The most recent calls were to an insurance firm and one from an unknown number. In the first situation, she wished to add a new family member to her insurance. The mystery number turned out to be from a standard television repairman. It turned out Anna had scheduled him to come and repair the television in their living room on March 24th, which had been damaged for quite some time. The police discovered this repairman, who stated that when he arrived for the task, John answered the door and informed him that his services were unnecessary because the television was already operational. The authorities also reviewed Anna's social media accounts, but she did not use them. Despite their attempts, the investigators discovered no indication that Anna Sharp had another man in her life. John stated that Anna had arrived home for Gracie by cab, but no taxi company acknowledged this travel. A bouquet of flowers she delivered on her mother's birthday, accompanied by a signed card, provided a vital lead in the search for Anna Sharp. However, the sentiments on the card did not appear to be Anna's wishes, raising concerns among her family about her well-being. Bank statement information revealed that the bouquet was actually purchased with Anna Sharp's card, since there were no witnesses or evidence to back up John's allegation that Anna had gotten into a blue car on the alleged day she left, nor were there any bus, plane, or hotel bookings. Anna's pals had no facts to back up the idea that she had fled off with another man. So what happened to Anna Sharp and her younger daughter? On June 10th, John Sharp was questioned by the police again, but he maintained his story. After being questioned, John Sharp was freed. However, this was a tactical maneuver by the detectives, who had placed John under observation in the hopes of catching any clues that could help with the search. John Sharp was a recluse who rarely made calls and did not accept company, so investigators had undercover cops monitor him. During this time, John gave a remarkable TV interview in which he begged Anna to call him while clutching a photograph of Gracie and crying insincerely. The surveillance crew continued to follow him and eventually caught him in a questionable deed. He drove to Chelsea Beach following the interview. He went warily, regularly checking over his shoulder to verify that no one was watching or following him. He approached a specific shrub on the shore and took out a white plastic bag. He took it and returned to his car. He pulled a phone from the plastic bag and made a call before driving to the nearest ATM and withdrawing cash. After that, he returned everything to the bag and buried it in the bushes on the shore. All of these suspicious acts were recorded on camera by the surveillance team. Then John went home and called the missing persons department, reporting that his wife had just called him and withdrew money from their joint account. Sharp was arrested after police discovered camera footage of him disposing of damning evidence in a garbage can and retrieving a credit card disguised in a plastic bag. During his initial interrogation, as a suspect, John proceeded to tell his narrative. He couldn't explain why he buried Anna's phone and bank card. John went silent. The police realized they needed to find another means to reach him, so they invited his parents, showed them the incriminating tape of their son on Chelsea Beach, and then dispatched them to speak with him. An hour later, Sharp was ready to speak. Initially, John Sharp maintained his narrative, but he finally admitted to the spear gun murder of 41-year-old pregnant Anna Marie Kemp Sharp and 20-month-old Gracie Louise Sharp. John's parents were always present at his news briefings. John would interrupt the discourse and then exit the room. He'd feel ill. He behaved strangely. He rolled his eyes and cried. According to him, Anna was a dictator with a terrible personality. He resolved to kill her to save himself. An adult man killed his pregnant wife because he believed she stood between him and his family. Despite his confession, the police continued to search for evidence. Traces of blood were discovered during additional inspections of the residence using detection dogs in the bedroom and Tiny Gracie's room. They discovered notes in the garbage in which John had written down everything he intended to say during interrogation. A shredded photograph with the name Francis was also discovered. Anna had hoped to name their future son Francis. During further interrogations, John Sharp described how he planned the deaths of his pregnant wife and then his small daughter. The couple argued on the evening of March 23rd. After that, Anna went to bed, but John did not. He wallowed in self-pity, convinced that his marriage was unhappy. He then decided to grab his spear gun from the garage. The circumstances surrounding the purchase of the spear gun were questionable, given John Sharp had never expressed an interest in spearfishing or any sport that required such equipment. Nonetheless, he used cash to buy 2 spears for the gun, leaving no evidence of the weapon's acquisition. While his wife was sleeping, he loaded the revolver and returned to their bedroom. John aimed the revolver just centimeters from her left temple and fired into her head. Sharp took the second spear and fired again, because the first shot did not kill Anne immediately. He then wrapped towels around his now deceased wife to avoid looking at her face, went downstairs, and slept on the couch. The following day, John Sharp awoke and resumed his normal routine. He dropped off his daughter Gracie at creche, returned home, and a TV repairman arrived, while Anna's body remained in the bed upstairs. After the repairman left, John attempted to remove the spears lodged in his pregnant wife's head. It was a challenging task, so Sharp decided to remove the shafts and leave the spear tips inside Anna's skull. Then he dug a shallow hole in the backyard and buried her, dumping her into a filthy pit. He then proceeded to pick up his daughter from creche as if nothing had occurred. The deception started. John Sharp invented an elaborate story about his wife abandoning him for another guy and conveyed it to his mother-in-law in New Zealand. On March 27, 2004, John put his daughter, Gracie, to bed. He had a few glasses of whiskey and coke. While inebriated, he went to the garage, loaded his shotgun with a spear he had recently purchased, and buried the other 2 spear tips in the backyard with his wife. He stepped over to Gracie's cot and pointed the rifle at her head. Sharp either closed his eyes or the booze impaired his ability to aim, but the first shot entered Gracie's head but did not kill her. She screamed in anguish as the spear smashed into her skull. He then reloaded his revolver and fired 2 more rounds at Gracie. Miraculously, she survived. Finally, the heartbroken father removed the first spear from Gracie's skull and fired the final deadly shot. John Sharp later acknowledged that the instant he took his wife's life, he realized he had to do the same with his daughter. He even brought Gracie with him to the sporting goods store to purchase new spears for the shotgun. Sharp covered his daughter's face with a towel the next day, unable to endure the sight of her dead visage, and withdrew the spears from Gracie's head. He then put her in waste bags, taped her body, and dumped her in a landfill with her toys and the weapons he used to kill her. John then excavated Anna's body and mutilated it with a chainsaw. He sealed the corpse parts in trash bags with tape. He then loaded them into the trunk of his car and proceeded to the landfill. The detectives had sufficient evidence to make an arrest, but did they have enough to prosecute and convict him? There was still optimism that continued surveillance might take them to the bodies. However, after several days of inactivity by John Sharp, the team decided to arrest him and return him to the Missing People Department. John Sharp's admission to the deaths of his wife and daughter was only the beginning of the nightmare. The task of locating the remains he'd buried in the landfill as rubbish was daunting. Due to space concerns, dumpsters from the Mornington City dump were moved to another landfill. The garbage bags were tracked to an incident location in Torom, and thanks to precise waste management at the dump, police were able to locate an area of approximately 100 square meters where they suspected the remains would be discovered. This saved the crew a great deal of time and effort. Extensive searches began at the end of June, and the police spent the next 3 weeks methodically sifting through the rubbish at the landfill near Devil Bend Reservoir. Australian winter correlates to the summer months, and nearly all 3 weeks were wet and cold. However, the hunt did not pause for a minute. For the police officers hunting for the mother and daughter, this case became a personal one. They went out in any weather and on their days off, despite the difficulties of working in protective suits, masks, and in a dangerous area. After 19 days, Narelle Fraser discovered a package containing a portion of Anna Sharp's remains. Later, photographs of Anna's mother and other personal artifacts were discovered in the dump, most likely having fallen out of the bag when it tore during processing. Narelle Fraser stated that the experience of discovering Anna Kemp's body will be unforgettable. She felt as if Anna was reaching out for her to be discovered. She also admitted that the team's initial excitement at the first finding faded fast as they realized Tiny Gracie must be close. I simply put my head in my hands and wailed. I sobbed for what Anna Wynne endured. For her family, for humanity, I suppose, but the notion of Gracie there. Fraser halted. By the end of July, all bags holding Anna and Gracie's remains had been found. During the trial, John Sharp admitted to the premeditated deaths of Anna Kemp and Gracie. The adult male rationalized his actions by stating that his wife had been getting on his nerves, so he bought a spear rifle and practiced using it in the shed several days before the incident. On the night of the incident, after Anna had gone to bed, he grabbed the spear gun and shot at her head while she was sleeping. He then buried her in the back garden. The next day, John Sharp went to a hardware store in Frankston to buy a roll of duct tape, 2 polyethylene tarps, and an electric chainsaw. That evening, after a night of heavy drinking, he fired at his small daughter's head with the same spear cannon. Sharp dug his wife from her shallow burial, cut her body in 3 halves, and disposed of her in the same way he did his daughter. He disposed of the body in a garbage bag alongside domestic waste. As the charade continued, John began a thorough cleanup. He disposed of blood-stained bedding and sent fraudulent emails using the alias Anna. He discarded Gracie's possessions and sent flowers to his mother-in-law on her birthday. To keep his deceit going, John used Anna's bank card at a bank in Chelsea and even sent an email to her mother in New Zealand purporting to be her. John Sharp appeared on television, appealing with his wife to call him and her family to reassure them of her safety. "Anna, our marriage is finished, but I still love you. And you are the mother of our beautiful daughter, Gracie, whom we both adore above all else." He gave the police a written statement claiming he had nothing to do with her disappearance. John Sharp continued to lie for 3 months. However, he was not an actor, and his script did not conclude as he had anticipated. On August 5, 2005, John Miles Sharp received 2 consecutive life sentences for the murders of his pregnant wife and child, with no prospect of release for 33 years. He is currently being detained in solitary confinement owing to threats and assassination attempts by other inmates. John Sharp, often known as the Mornington Monster, was convicted to 2 consecutive life sentences in 2005 and is considered Victoria's worst familicide case. Anna and Gracie were buried in her hometown. The name of their unborn son, Francis, is engraved on their combined gravestone. The father's name has now been left blank on Gracie's documents. But did John truly murder his wife due of their unhappy marriage and his desire not to have another kid? Or was there another reason? To address his distaste for his wife and child, he could have divorced and moved on alone, as many people do nowadays, but that is what any sensible person would say. John Sharp, a true monster, decided to settle his troubles by taking the lives of his loved ones. Among all the lunacy that had taken over his thoughts, it was evident that he had lost contact with reality. There is no other explanation. Thank you for viewing.